Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's ServiceNow Express video blog post on the concept of building out your own application. And this is addressing the functionality needs different departments may have in your organization: human resources, legal, marketing, facilities, very common entities that have the same types of issues where they need to have a standardized portal, take in questions, what's our benefits, can I change my payroll area, can I get a new trash can at my desk, so on and so on. It all uses the same functionality from ServiceNow, but we just basically rebrand it from what it comes out of box, the IT concept, to that new organization you're looking for. So we're going to start today with the first step in creating any custom application, making a new table. So to do that, simply type into your navigator table. You should find a section for create new table. Now clicking into create new table is going to offer us the ability to pick a table name that we want, the ability to pick what base table we're going to extend, because any table we're making custom, it's going to come from, extended from one of the core ServiceNow tables. And then if you want to make a module. So in this example, let's just give the table name something for our multi-purpose use here. We're going to say this is our HR, legal, facilities, marketing table. And what this table is going to do is it's going to extend the task table. Now there's a few important things that I'm going to note here, and that's with the hierarchy of the tables in Express. There's really two you need to be cognizant of. The first is in the concept of incident, problem, change, request, and so on. All those tables extend this task table. You could think the task is really being all your work unit-based records in your system where you're doing something. Now, on the other hand, you have your CMDB. You have your computers, your printers, your servers, software, etc., etc. Now, all those tables are extended from this base configuration item table. So as very broad rule of thumbs, you could basically think of it as, if I need to make a new app that is something like an incident, something like a new application for a new department, you probably want to do it off of task. If it's something that should be tracked as an asset in the CMDB, you probably want to do it off of configuration item. Another important note is that any child table rolls up into the parent table. So that's why when you go to the all section of CMDB, it's actually showing you configuration item, which includes all the other child tables. So just be aware that if you did decide to extend hardware, for example, and you made your own keyboard hardware from hardware, then anytime you clicked into the hardware module and looked at a list of hardware records, it would also include those child keyboard records in this case. So now that we are cognizant of what the implications are of the table we extend from, let's go ahead and pick that task-based table, and then we give it the prefix of the numbering we want. So if you did an HR table, come to do HR, legal, facilities, maybe FCL, marketing, MRKT, and we're just going to put one of those prefixes in there. So let's just do HR, LF, MRKT. It could be long. Generally though, best practice, I'd say keep it to 3 or 4 digits. So I'm just going to cut down a little bit here. We're just going to do 1 for each of our different groups here. And then I'm going to choose to create a module in this application. Now, this piece, this is where you basically can have the context of, should this be a standalone app? Because then, yes, I want to make a new application. Or is this going to be something nested in something else? Common example of that nesting is the CMDB. If I was to create another keyboard table, I wouldn't want to make a keyboard application. I would uncheck this, just say I want to make a new module keyboard in the existing application asset configuration, and it would show up here similar to servers or computers and so on. The thing I'm going to do though for this case, we are going to do a standalone app, so we're going to call it HR Legal Facility Marketing Application, and we're going to say, yes, I want to create a new module in this new application I'm making. And just like that, we press create, and we've just created ourselves a new table extended off of task that will be available in the navigator here to the left. And just like that, when I search that HR keyword, I bring up my HR legal facility marketing application I've just built with that one module found underneath. So that was our big step 1, making the core table. My step 2 I recommend is configuring the forms. So just click into that module that got created with the application, press the new in that list view, and then right click, configure yourself your form design. Pick and choose exactly what those fields are. Maybe we want to make new fields. Maybe this is going to be a custom price field. This is going to be the cost of the service. Who knows what it's going to be. And the idea is you're now configuring this form on the new table per what you want to have on it. Some recommendations I always make is to throw on there your activity formatter. So just grab that activities filtered formatter and throw it right on there. Just like that, we come back to our record and it's going to have all that data and information we need. New record, we'll just throw a sample in there so we see the activity formatter appear as well. After you've configured that form, another piece of configuration you should make at this time is those related lists. If this table is going to be related to something else, if it's going to be the parent record to something else, or commonly if incidents, problems, changes are going to be occurring against this specific table or application, maybe there's requests that are the parents, so on and so forth. Remember at this time also to add any of those related lists that you want to show on that given form. Now, very, very common configurations of your new application is perhaps picking a number of states that this current item can be in, as well as maybe getting yourself new categories. So really just make yourself choice fields for both of those cases. Keep in mind a custom state field, which is just a choice field. You can use business rules to map any changes from your custom state over to this state field. And there's a blog post about that in the blog section of the ServiceNow Express support site. So we're just going to quickly go ahead. We're going to configure. We're going to come back into that form design. And we're going to add those fields. So field type, choice. We're going to add one choice. We're going to call this, for example, this is going to be our categories field. And then we're going to make another one. And then this is going to be our states field. So nothing too original in terms of the namings, but it'll get us those designations we need. And that's going to be important, getting that core designation down for the third step in the process here. Step 1, make the table. Step 2, configure the form. Step 3, which we'll go into now, configure the modules that will be part of that application. So as you may have seen out of the box, those have plenty of modules within them. If we come into incident, problem, change, you have your classic create new, open, and anything else that you may find within there. So you want to have a very similar structure with this custom app you build, falling in line with the states of this custom field you've made. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to configure those choices, and maybe this is a very simple one. It's either going to be active, let's say also it's going to be inactive, and we're going to say it's going to be closed. So maybe some redundancy there between these two, but the idea is you've made a custom state field. After we have the custom state field, we're going to come back in to that application we made, and we're going to and we're also going to configure our list view globally to have the fields we want. So this is the last thing before hopping over to our modules. Just going to right click, go to configure list layout to make those global changes. Keep in mind, if you would have pressed the cog, it's just a personal change, just your logged in user. And we're going to add those categories and those states. And you're adding here any of those custom fields relevant to that application you made that you want to show on the list view. With all our fields, our list views squared away, it's time to hit part 3, making those modules. So head over to the System Admin homepage again, go to Basic Setup, Applications, and then click into that HR, Legal Facility Marketing, whatever that app may be you just built. From there, you'll notice there's just one module currently. Well, that module is just the one that was created on application creation. Another thing I'll highlight is there's this View on Mobile option. If you want this custom app to come up on mobile, you want to not only checkmark that, but also, this is extremely important, checkmark the View on Mobile column, which I've added over by just pressing the cog and adding it over, and make sure that that piece is set to true as well. If you just do the app, it won't work. You need to do the app plus at least one or more module. So we have it ready on mobile. We have our one default module, but this module really isn't anything of value. It's a list of records. It got us started to create that new record, do form design, but let's make it have value. We're going to rename the title, for example, to open, or per our state fields, let's just call this active. And it's also going to be a list of records, but this time, and let's save before continuing, it's going to be a list of records that are filtered down to where the state is just the active records. And you can change that ordering for where it'll appear on the left-hand bar, but really the common ones is you want to have an active section. You want to have another one perhaps for assigned to me, or assigned to my groups, so on and so forth. Again, list of records, the table it's on is that new table we made. The filter is a criteria such as assigned to, is dynamic me, or assignment group, is dynamic one of my groups. Now a quick note, is dynamic me will only do you if you do is dynamic one of my assignments. If you're the delegate for someone, then it'll include it as well. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in there, and we're going to press submit. We're going to do another module here. We've got assigned to me, we've got active. Another real common one is active unassigned. You know, think like a module of a queue, things people need to pick up. So we're just going to say active unassigned. List of records, again on that table that we created. Filter condition where the states active is true. We could even use the active field, but keep in mind, for that active field to go to false, you'd have to change the actual state field. So we're going to go ahead and just say states is active and assigned to is empty. We're going to throw that in there as well. Now, since I have active unassigned, active, assigned to me, I'm just going to do one last bucket for unassigned. You could do a bucket for all if you wanted to and just have no query on that table. But I'm just going to do one for inactive or closed. I'm going to pick that one. I'm going to add the filter condition of the states is one of, and I'm going to do the inactive or closed. So just like that, we've thrown together a nice module here. Oop, let's name that. We're going to say inactive / closed. We've built some breadth into the module of list type records. There's two other common ones I always recommend adding. One is a dashboard, and the second, a way to create a new record on the fly. So let's make one more module. We're just going to call this new, and what it's going to do is it's going to create a new record on this table we made. Really, really simple. Submit. Just like that, we've got a new. Again, you probably reorder this so the ordering is nicer, falls in line with the other apps, but we'll skip that for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to add, as part of the last thing, that home page. So again, another new module. This time we're going to say it is a home page. This is going to be called our overview. And I'm going to do a little reference search. We're going to create ourselves a new one. We're going to create it for our custom home page. We're going to go ahead and say, yes, it's not selectable. It's going to be an overview style home page. Always fill in a view, call it whatever you want, custom. Write roles, who can change it, definitely is going to be admin. Read roles, who can see it. Let's throw that to ITIL, and then we submit. And just like that, we have that custom home page all built together. I'll press submit once more. We have our legal app we have the third step completed, building out a body in this app of modules. Number of different list views per the filter criteria we wanted, ability to make a new record, and now a dashboard that we have available to us for that custom homepage. So really the core of this application on the easy, fluffy front side, if you will, has been completed. But what is left is all your core background logic that you need running for a custom application. So let's start with the first piece of logic that we may want to introduce, and that is simple notifications. Keep in mind, with that task-based hierarchy, the table hierarchy, any table, business rule, report, notification, etc., it'll apply to any of those child tables. So if I have a notification running on that parent task table, it will run on those child tables. It'll get triggered. So here, maybe I want to make just a new custom app, do the same thing as incident. Really simple thing you could do is just, well, copy everything. Well, I want one for this custom table task, open unassigned. So I'll click into that one that I want. I'll call it not from incident, but from this HR legal facility marketing table. I'll check to make sure that values are still valid. As you can see, some fields who will receive, I need to pick someone. You go ahead and pick who's going to receive those notifications. Instead of the caller, maybe it's the requested for field you made. Reference field to user is a common one you want to make. Otherwise, open by, also a common one. And just like that, you go through, you pick what those notifications you want. If it's existing, simply change the table reference, make sure the data is valid, right click, insert and stay. Now we have this notification running on my table here. If you use templates, you may run into a case where you want to redo the template also for this new table. And that's really that fourth step in the process. Get all your email notifications per whatever you want to send out. You know, comments, assignments, state changes, whatever it is you want to do, make those notifications. Now, the next step after notifications is the flip side, the inbound email actions. So now you've built a ton of stuff to notify people outbound with changes to this new table you made. Well, if they email in back a reply, if they email into the system, nothing's going to happen because we need inbound actions to do something. So this could be my custom table reply, added comments thing, where we're going to say target table is this custom table I created, and we're going to say when to run when it's a reply. Keep in mind, new, reply, forward, all different types. You need a rule for each if you want to process it. And we're going to say when a reply comes through, the actions I want to take is I'll set the additional comments, for example, from the email body. Just like that, your custom table is now taking in replies and adding that content in. Of course, though, in many cases, you want an email address to create a new record. So for that, I always recommend sub-addresses. So custom. Let me make sure I fill out both my fields here, not just one. And there we go. We have it with the plus custom. So now I have a sub-address. Basically, it's your instance URL plus that extension, and what it lets you do is it lets you send email right into that rather than to the primary mailbox that probably would have created an incident, and it's just a nice way to route the mail. If you're doing email forwarding, you may run into cases where the header information is not proper. A, keep in mind it is case sensitive when we process, and B, sometimes you should do a recipients check. So recipients contains, and maybe you're forwarding it from a custom@company.com, something like that. That's one way to get the data in there. If you are using this method of the contain search of recipients, I do advise clear out the sub-address field. So the next thing that we're going to be seeing here with these sub-addresses is we had our new, we had our reply. In both cases, we've selected our HR legal facility marketing table, and I will say set that stop processing flag if you don't want any other action to run. So for example, if I had another rule that also checked recipients contains custom and I wanted it to also process, then I would uncheck this. If I do check this, the system runs at order 100, it reads this, valid yes, it just does this and then it stops. The lower the order, the sooner it'll run, so if something has higher priority, give it a lower order. So recapping what we've done, we've made our table, we've made the fields, we've personalized all the modules as well as the list view columns. We've went in and decided we need to create our outbound email notifications. Now we've done our inbound email actions to process inbound. There's just a few other key areas left to get your application fully stood up. And that is going to reside primarily with the concept of self-service. You made your new app, but in most cases, you're going to want to throw it in the self-service portal. So you want to either create a new category. That could be something we do. We just simply come into categories, make ourselves a new category for this HR custom app, and then we go ahead and throw a record producer in there to allow our users to create records self-service style right from that knowledge base they're using for everything else. So they can come into that custom category that we just created. Let's find it there, that custom app. And in the catalog items, we're going to define record producers. So create a record producer, a brand new one, simply point it to that new table. You can easily go and choose what the fields are you want. If it's a choice field you're mapping to, keep in mind that all you need to do is make a select box and map those choice values. So for example, I'll say, what should the state be, or what should the priority be? That's a better one. Select box, what should the priority be? And then we'll let our users go ahead and decide that. So I'll submit that in there. Now I need to give that select box, of course, actual choices. So in the type specifications field, I can pick that table that I'm trying to address, and I can pick what field's choices I want to steal, so to speak. So I could do priority. And just like that, if I came to this record producer to try it, you'll notice that it has the same values. So really simple. Granted, I would name it realistically. We'd give it all that custom goodness. And just like that, we've made the app. We've configured the business logic. We've put it in the self-service portal. Now, the final thing is we're going to beef up that overview homepage because we don't really have any reports unless they're task-based reports that would show us any of this data. So remember to go in, finally, create yourself new reports running off this new table that has the data you want. Keep in mind also SLAs. If you want to put SLAs on this table, there's none on the parents table, go ahead and make yourself new SLAs that are affecting this table as well for good service management. And then, of course, any underlying business automation through business rules or UI policies to dynamically pop up fields, make them mandatory, and so on, you should throw those in there. The last piece of business logic is, of course, approval rules. Since we can do it on any task-based table, if you needed to do an approval, create that as well and select that new table of ours. So just like that, you've built out and created a fully custom application that now can support standardized intake of incidents through email and self-service. We can apply SLAs for service level excellence. We can do reporting and all our business automation for automated routing to the right person for any of these different groups in your business organization that need such functionality.